This meeting to order, and the time is 9:05, 26th of May. Gray Bruce OPP Detachment Board. Madam Administrator,
Through you, Chair Solers.
if you would.
In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge with respect the history and living culture of the Anishinaabe, the people of the Three Fires known as the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi Nation, who have inhabited this land from time immemorial. We recognize that these lands are the territories of the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash, collectively known as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, the keepers of this land. Georgian Bluffs is located on lands encompassed by treaties 45.5, 67, 72, 82, and 93. We reflect on our role as treaty people and the need to live in respect and peace and show respect to the first peoples who inhabit these lands and waters.
In recommending that the agenda be approved as presented, may I have a mover and a seconder? Mover, Member Wood. Seconder, Member Rainey. All in favor? Opposed, if any? None opposed, passed. With respect to declaration of pecuniary interest, is there any member other than myself having to declare a pecuniary interest? You opened your eyes. I will. That one. It's very minor. It will be with respect to item 12. And it'll just have to do with a hotel stay, and that's it. Nothing to be concerned about. Anyway, and it has to be dealt with. I'll deal with it when we get there. It'll be brief. With respect to approval of minutes, I'm going to recommend that the minutes contained herein be approved. Is there a mover and a seconder? Mover is Member Kirkland, seconder, okay, Member McQueen. Thank you. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Passed. Any person, is there any discussion? I'm sorry. With respect to that, I should have asked first. I see there's no discussion, thank goodness. I have to check the screen. We've got Member Martin on the screen. Is there any person who wishes to make a presentation to the board must register with the board administrator at least 10 days in advance of the scheduled meeting. To register, you can complete the online form, which is Gray Bruce OPP Detachment Board /delegations, or call the board administrator at 519-376-2729, extension 601. Note there is no public participation. With respect to delegations and items on the agenda, is there any person who wishes to appear before the board regarding an item on the agenda? Must register with the board administrator. To register, you can either complete the online delegation form or call the board administrator at 519-376-2729. or register in council chambers prior to the meeting start time. I note there are no delegations. With respect to reports, just one moment. Commander Barfoot, any reports? None? None today. Respect to administration and finance, I recommend that the Gray Bruce OPP Detachment Board approve the communication policy, GB OPP policy number 5 as appended to report OPP 2026-07. Is there a mover and a seconder? Mover, Member Erg, seconder. Member Reed. I'm going to defer to Madam Administrator.
Thank you. Through you, Chair Solers. This is a communication policy that was requested in a prior meeting by the board. So the report recommends approval of the Gray Bruce OPP Detachment Board communication policy as appended. The policy establishes a framework for how the board communicates with the public, media, stakeholders, ensuring communications are transparent, consistent, accessible, and compliant with legislative requirements. It clarifies roles and responsibilities, identifies the board chair as the official spokesperson of the board, and distinguishes the board's governance communications from the OPP operational communications, which is important. The policy also outlines protocols for media relations, public engagement, privacy compliance, compliant processes, and training requirements. There are no anticipated financial impacts with this report, and the policy will be reviewed every 4 years or sooner if required.
Is there any discussion? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a moot point. Page 17, when it said board members do not speak on behalf of the board unless authorized and must maintain confidentiality. Understood. I'm not sure many council members give an actual report, kind of everything that's transpired here. And basically, I'm speaking on behalf of the board at council because we are reporting in. As an example, yesterday, Meaford announced that we are in the running for a new detachment. So there was a lot of discussion, and I was dispelling a lot of information that they said at this table. So I'm presuming the council members are kind of allowed to summarize and dispense information on behalf of the board.
Through you, Chair Solich, yes, that would be appropriate, absolutely.
Thank you. Madam Administrator, you and I received an email from Kathy Moore-Coburn with respect to item 7.2.1, if you recall. Has that been addressed?
Through you, Chair Solich, no, you may address that. Okay.
Councillor Coburn had indicated removing any reference to Georgian Bluffs as the host website /admin, as this may not always be the case. And we would want to policy, I guess, the policy to be able to have longevity as the situation changes beyond this term of council. Okay. Yes, sir.
Just on that, I would just remove the Georgia Bluffs, but keep the host will have the.
That's a good point. Keep it as the host. Any thoughts? See a bunch of heads nodding. I don't think I need a vote on it. I think that's a good one.
Through you, Chair Solich, no, we can note that in the minutes and make those administrative changes.
That would be good. Any comments from Member Martin? She's just back on the screen, that's all. None. Okay. And I guess her other comments that Kathy had were on the budget, but that can wait till we get there if you don't mind.
Correct.
Okay, remind me on that one too, if you don't mind. Okay, thanks very much. With respect to the motion, all in favor? Opposed, if any? None, carried. We're up to 7.2.2. Recommendation for the annual board self-assessment survey. Now that was also pointed out, reminded us by our association, if I recall.
Through you, Chair Solich, I believe Member Ellis brought it up as a notice of motion at a previous meeting, and so this is the report that is in response to that.
Okay, thank you. And the recommendation is that the report OPP 2026-0808, I should say, be received for information. Is there a mover and a seconder? Mover, Member Wood. Any seconder? Member Kirkland. Board Administrator, would you summarize the report?
Through you, Chair Solich. Yes, this report provides information on the OPP Detachment Board Governance Self-Assessment Toolkit, which was developed by Police Governance Ontario, PGO, formerly OAPSB. The toolkit supports annual evaluation of board governance effectiveness through a self-assessment survey, helping identify strengths, areas of improvement, and governance priorities. It includes a survey, user's guide, result summary template, and action planning worksheet, and focuses on board level governance rather than individual performance. So staff can distribute the survey electronically to board members after this meeting and compile the results into key themes and trends. and present the findings to the board for discussion and identification of priorities or governance improvements at a future meeting.
Is there any discussion? Go ahead.
I was just wondering if you remember it in survey monthly or anything, or just send it up in paper form, or?
Through you, Commissioner Lurch, I believe we will be putting it in some sort of survey tool in which it will also summarize the findings for us and just streamline it for answering purposes for you guys, yes.
Perfect.
Any other comments? None? In favor of the receiving it for information? Opposed, if any? None? All right. 7.2.3. The recommendation to receive the report, that the report OPP 2026-09 regarding First Nation representation on the Grey Bruce OPP Detachment Board be received for information, and further that the board directs staff to review and align the board's financial and governance practices with the interpretation and guidance provided by Police Governance Ontario, that's PGO, that's the OASPB, including maintaining a clear distinction between board operational costs and member-related participation expenses as outlined in this report. On this, do we have a mover and a seconder? Mover, Member Erg, seconder, Member Ring. I'm going to defer to Jody. On this one, I think I've asked you to walk through this so that there's a clear understanding, if you don't mind.
Yeah, through you, Chair Solich.
Thank you very much.
So this report responds to the board's February 24th, 2026 direction to examine how First Nation representation and related costs are handled by other OPP detachment boards with First Nation representation, and to clarify the distinction between board operational expenses and member participation expenses. So under the CSPA, municipalities are responsible for contributing to board operating costs under Section 71, while Section 67.3 distinguishes member remuneration and expenses from board operating costs. So there's two distinct costs to the board. Police Governance Ontario, PGO, advised that municipalities alone are responsible for funding board operational costs, such as administration, governance, infrastructure, and board operations. In contrast, member-related expenses, items such as per diems, travel, training, conference attendance, are separate from board operating budget and are associated with individual board members. So PGO's interpretation is that First Nations are not included in the municipal cost sharing framework under Section 71, and therefore are not required to contribute to board operating costs. Instead, First Nation communities would be responsible for expenses relating to their own participation of their appointed representatives. So the Ministry of the Solicitor General has been asked to provide formal written clarification. At the time of writing this report, I hadn't received it. However, as of today, May 26, 2026, the following response was provided by email. So I'm just going to read it. The Community Safety and Policing Act 2019 only imposes the obligation to contribute to the detachment's board's operating budget on municipalities. And they list the sections, section 71.3, OREG 135.24, section 3, subsection 2 and 3. So it makes it clear that municipalities are required to pay the detachment board's operating budget, either in equal shares or if some other agreement is reached unanimously, that's all right as well. A First Nation is not a municipality, so a First Nation is not required to contribute to operating budget. They didn't weigh in on the other aspect, the per diems, but they did weigh in on operating budget. We also reviewed practices of other OPP detachment boards. I contacted every OPP detachment board that had First Nation representation, and the ones contained in the report are the ones that I received responses from. I don't know if you want me to go through those, but they are summarized in the report, kind of their stances. The report notes that the Grey Bruce OPP Detachment Board's 2026 budget originally did include First Nation communities in the cost sharing formula, which resulted in a contribution of $10,800 per participating municipality. That was divided by 9. However, based on PGO's guidance and now the ministry and comparative practices across the boards that I did speak to, we're recommending that only municipalities contribute to board operational costs. This would increase the municipal contribution from $10,800 to $13,885.71 per municipality, which is an increase of $3,085.71. While First Nation communities would manage member participation expenses through their own reimbursement processes. The report recommends that the board receive the information. Chair Solar also already read this part, but that is the recommendation.
Any discussion? I'm sure there is. The floor is open. Go ahead, Vice Chair.
Well, I'm choosing my words carefully. First of all, I don't think we want to make this political, but it seems what this is doing is confirming what we had been led to believe, that the municipalities of this board contribute and pay for the operational costs, despite the fact that we do have 2 First Nations groups that we want to be participants. We want them to be included. We want their input. And so there's no question in that regard. It's not that we're saying we're not supportive of their participation, but this seems to be a provincial decision with no clear indication as to why this rationale has been created. I suppose it's no different than their decision that they want 3 appointees, myself being one of them, and that the board has to pay for us as well. But I guess my question is that, you know, if the province feels that they should be contributed, as I think we previously discussed, towards the cost for provincial appointees, as well as the First Nations groups, to be fair, because the taxpayers of all of the municipalities that are anting up are they're paying their share. And so if the province doesn't feel that they want provincial appointees and they want First Nations not to have to pay, then they should ante up. That should be the position that I think we should take, that, okay, nobody should get a free ride. It doesn't matter. It's going to come out of somebody's pocket, taxpayers one way or another. But I don't know if we want to make a motion to the effect that would go and turn to other boards that are in a similar situation to see whether they support our position and send a message to the Solicitor General, say, fine, if this is how you want to do it, that's your choice. But how about you contribute your proportionate share for each of these First Nation groups, as well as a reasonable amount to offset the cost for provincial appointees to sit on the board on your behalf. Go ahead.
I agree 100%. I think all the other boards are waiting for somebody to take a stance on this. And I think we need to take a stance and send the bill to the province or the governing agency that made the decision. Somebody has to pay it's unfair for our taxpayers to pay a portion of the nation. And yes, we do want them at the table, because they're in our district and how we handle policing. But when somebody tells us that you know, it's not up to them, well, then you're the one that's going to have to pay. So we'll send the bill to start with the governance agency that made the announcement and what they say should happen, and go from there. I think until the meantime, if we're short dollars and cents as a board, you know, us municipalities are going to have to come up with the dollars and cents, but there is still going to be an unpaid accounts receivable of X amount of dollars from the province on our balance sheet.
That account receivable is still in the books, as far as I know. Would that be correct? I can ask our treasurer. Is that receivable still posted as receivable?
Through you, Chair Solish, unfortunately, our treasurer isn't here. But yes, we still have outstanding fees from 2024 and 2025.
Well, I just, in response to that, I think we should be sending that bill to the Police Governance Ontario group that has made the decision. They'll tell us what to do or where to send it from there, and maybe the proper ministry that it should be sent to. So I don't think it's fair to our taxpayers within our district to be doing that. I think we just need to make a stance.
From my standpoint, if I can just weigh in with my only comment, was what disturbed me was the timing of it. And what I mean by that is when we set the budget at the beginning, we weren't aware of this position that they were taking. Would that be correct?
Through you, Chair Solish, that is correct.
So all of a sudden, for lack of a better term, we're blindsided. Tell me up front, not retroactively, and that's what disturbed me. Go ahead, Member McQueen.
So I would suggest we take it at a level where we make maybe a motion or an amendment or the suggestion of amendment to change the wording, not just municipalities, but to whatever that wording would need to be. So don't have to get into the weeds about, but talk about fairness. We're making that request for the Solicitor General or whoever makes this legislation, that we request that the wording not only includes municipalities, but First Nations in the wording. Because right now, in the wording, it says municipalities and First Nations aren't considered a municipality. It's in the wording. We can't argue the wording, where the wording is. So I would suggest you take the action of suggesting to change the wording to include First Nations and take it at that high level. So you keep it at a high level in the sense of it's not them and us, it's about the wording. Because it's the wording that's holding us back, right?
Yep.
And then you can have a little bit of detail maybe on the fairness of contributing, equal contributors and that type of thing, but make a suggestion that could the wording be amended to include?
Or the policy commence effectively, not retroactive, but going forward.
Well, yeah, you got to get to that first base first, and that would be the thing, is to try to change that wording.
Yeah.
Because until the wording is the way it is, it's not going to change. Obviously, it's
So
right
you're not
that
going to
way.
change it. You can alter the definition.
Yeah. Well, however, because we can't debate that or have a conversation around that, I would sort of be careful how we have that conversation around that, but just to ask to make an amendment to the wording, so then it's including First Nations or however that wording should be in the sense of fairness.
Anybody else want to offer a comment? Floor is open. It's a hot one. Go ahead, Member.
Yeah, I just want to put in there, just from a comment perspective, from the financial aspect of it. I mean, I've only been here since a year, and now this is tripled. So we started at 5, we went to 10.8, now we're 13.8, so we're getting close to tripling in a year. So this is obviously having much more of an impact than we consider every time we kind of turn around. So we've got to draw a line in the sand somewhere and push back and just say, look, this, as Jay said, there's only so much the taxpayers and with all the downloading that happens in the province in general, this has just got to be some pushback and say sorry.
Go ahead, Member Ring.
Through you, Chair. This has come up kind of subtly in our monthly discussions.
That's correct.
And I think we are correct in assuming that everybody's waiting to see what we're going to do.
That's probably right, because I think we've had that discussion through the association also.
Yeah, that's the impression that I got, is that on the members that have been on some of these calls.
Yep.
Nobody wants to touch it because it's a hot potato.
That's exactly what's happened. That's the sense I've
But
got.
we have to find a way to, I agree with the municipalities, it's an extra cost to them that they shouldn't have to have associated with them as a municipality, but the cost needs to come from somewhere else. It shouldn't have to come, the municipality shouldn't be responsible for the board, and really First Nations not contributing other than through the money and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I agree with Member McQueen in that I was saying perhaps a consideration going forward. But he's right, you've got to get the first base right first before doing anything else.
Yeah, get the wording right.
Go ahead, sir.
And that sort of, I think, keeps the hot potato cool.
Yeah.
If you're just working on the wording.
Right.
Not to talk too much rhetoric on, them and us and all that kind of stuff. And, but the wording needs to be fair. It's about the fairness, and the wording needs to be considered to include. Keep it simple. That's what I would suggest.
Go ahead, Bob.
Here again, to bring it back as well, it's my understanding originally the province indicated that they would be providing some funding towards the cost for provincial appointees as well, but then they reneged on that, didn't they? Wasn't that the original, my understanding, that there was supposed to be some sort of support for that, and then it didn't materialize? Or am I mistaken? Go ahead, Carol.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'll attempt at answering that. The former model of boards, the province did provide funding for provincially appointed members. So that was with the old structure. But in the new legislation, they had taken the stance that they were no longer going to provide that remuneration with the new structure. So I think staff at the time may have assumed that the province would continue to remunerate those members that were appointed. But that's unfortunately not how it evolved with the new model. So I think it was a model that translated poorly from, one piece of legislation to another.
So my only response is we could include that in the issue with the First Nations, or we make it a separate issue, but it's a cost. And I hope that the three of us that are here through that appointment are contributing. But at the same time, it's no different. Why should the province, if they're insisting on our presence, not contribute? It's going to come out of somebody's pocket, and I don't see why the province, if they feel it's important for them to have representation.
Jody, do you want to weigh in?
Through Chair Solich, I was just going to mention, this happened some months ago, but we did write a resolution letter to the Solicitor General regarding the funding request, and unfortunately, we did not hear back.
Unfortunately, what?
We did not receive a response.
Doesn't surprise me. Okay, Member Kirkland.
I usually like to hit the nail on the head, and I think
out
we
of the
should
way.
we should be asking First Nations, what do they suggest? They're sitting on the board, and they're the same as we are here with their voice, and find out, maybe they have a suggestion and a way to fix this. I know they're funding, they receive federal dollars on certain things that they're doing, and maybe they have a funding source outside of the province that they can do. So maybe it's as simple as asking our First Nations representatives that are on the board, what would they suggest we do in this situation? We might as well be upfront about it and get the suggestion from them first.
If that were the case, then we'd have to defer this matter.
I think we can defer it and until we hear from them, and there might be proper wording. They might tell us the agency that we need to send the bill to. And already have direct contact with that. There's got to be other areas within Ontario and the police services boards that this is happening to. And if we're the first ones, well then, let's get it fixed and let's get it right. And that's how, we're supposed to ask for advice from First Nations when we're trying to come to a resolve on things. So
Actually, that is actually a good idea, and I say that because deferring it sends a pretty strong message itself. It boots it back. Yes, sir.
So through you, Mr. Chair, would that be in the form of email or a personal visit from our chair or deputy chair? Like, how would that, I have another question, but just how would that, how best that?
I don't know. Jody, any thoughts on that? If that's the direction we were taking, how would we go about doing it?
You, Chair Solich. We did have a few meetings in which we were present with the First Nations community.
With both of them, yes.
I'm not sure if you would be comfortable making that connection again. That would be a board decision.
But just a suggestion is through our two representatives that are on the board.
Yep.
Why don't we ask them what their advice is?
Well, I think we've got one representative who sits at the table now, and the others as not as yet. Is that correct?
Through you, Chair Solar, correct. Faye Root from Sangin has been sworn in, and unfortunately she was ill today, so she did send her regrets. And member Nick Saunders is just working toward completion of training from Nawash.
He doesn't have a voice yet.
No, because he's not on.
So you've got one,
Maybe,
member Root is, she's just not here today.
and ask her advice on what she thinks, and she can go back and ask, what does the band council think? Because it will be probably answered by the band council, both of them.
That would be the normal route
I would
you
think.
would take.
So, I don't know, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel or come in the back door on anything. I'd rather hit it right up front. Let's have this discussion.
Well, if we were gonna do that, we would have to include the second,
Wasn't Anthony or Tony Chigano already?
no, he got replaced.
Oh, okay, so he had never done.
He had
training.
never completed the test.
Okay.
That was a major attempt, which ran in circles, but I won't get into that one.
No, that's fine. Well, maybe we, then us as a board and
Yeah,
bypass our member, but us as a board, send a letter directly to the administration of both reserves.
yes, sir.
I think bringing them into the discussion is very good in many ways, in that it's not like we're trying to go behind their backs
No.
or attack them. This is not of their making. They didn't set this policy. If you to use an analogy, okay, if for some reason your municipality had been exempt from this board having to pay, which wouldn't happen, and I came to you and said,
We
well,
are,
okay,
aren't we? We are.
Well, he's got wider than Will. Come on, give him a
yeah,
break.
well, but if that happened and everybody else was paying, and I came to you and I said, well, how do you feel about getting a free ride and everybody having to pay? Does it make you feel guilty? Would you like to be given the opportunity to contribute? I don't know if you would say, well, I don't know, I think I'll just take the free ride. But having said that, back to the issue of the First Nations, this is not their choice. Now, where the money comes from, if the province says we'll pay for the First Nations, that's the province's choice, but it's not as if the two members have set this policy.
Right.
And so I suspect that when we go back to them, the benefit of that is to make them aware of our thoughts, our feelings in an upfront fashion, as you suggest. But at the same time, they're probably going to say, we haven't got a clue why the policy is. We had no input. We wouldn't know who to talk to change it. And it's still going to come eventually back to us going to this and making a
But at least you
motion.
give him the opportunity.
Exactly. And that's where I think the value of it is, that we're everything we do, we want to include them in this. We want them to be part of our board. We want them to participate. And it's just an issue that sort of, out of principle, we're concerned that it sends the wrong message, and getting their thoughts. If they say, well, we agree with you, we see where this doesn't make sense. And if they're supportive of the province or whoever making a change, well, that gets the monkey off a lot of people's back, I would think.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that? Go ahead, sir.
No, I would agree with that, but I would also wonder, are we as a board allowed to make delegations at AMO? We have municipal representation here, and I think having a conversation with whatever minister or ministers would be involved, is that an option we can do as well? Because, I don't know if you're going to AMO, I'm going to AMO, I don't know who else is going to AMO, but that's usually your form. From a municipal side, is your process of, having a delegation with the ministry. Usually it's twice a year. It's usually at AMO and at Roma, right? I don't know if that's a possibility, or we can do that through a motion. Because my point would be is, if you had that, it would be, one is the wording, or like you just said, Jay, is, well, would the province consider funding for not just for the large members, but also from the First Nations, because the First Nations, so it's not really a direct, against First Nations. It's like, we're just trying to look for fairness and trying to help our budget. So, we could ask that question, would the province then would be that contributor for? There's a number of questions we could ask.
When did this all arise, Jody? Do you remember when it first, the interpretation of it, shall I say? Because it wasn't dealt with when we were doing the budgeting.
Through you, Chair Solish, I believe Hank, Hank's there from the ministry, brought it to our attention last year, prior to our meetings with the First Nations communities. I can't give you an exact month or day. I could look it up.
No, but was that prior to our own budgeting? Were we aware of it?
I don't believe it was prior to the budgeting, no.
So it was after the budgeting? Obviously, if it's not, you don't recall it. Because we would have been aware of it at that point, unless we missed it for some reason.
Through you, Chair Solish, no, it was after budgeting.
Okay,
It was
good.
sometime last winter, I believe, or possibly spring. I can look up a specific date.
No, I don't think that's necessary, but you see where I'm going with that. If this one sneaked up on us later,
Yep.
or if that became a policy after we did our budgeting, hey, wait a second, guys, you belly up to the bar. Nice way of putting it. But, go ahead, Carl, were you gonna say something? I'm sorry.
Just to maybe start on bringing a close to the matter, I think
Please.
we're at
We could be
two-
on this for a long
We're at
time.
the crossroads of two options, I think, and I like Councilor McQueen's option of delegation, and it's nice to give the ministry a heads up. I don't know what ministry we should be meeting with, whether it's Indigenous Affairs, whether it's usually Solicitor General. That's something that we need to decide, but I think even if one of the municipalities in this room makes the delegation and the chair shows up for the
Which I
meeting.
would. Myself and
Even
Bob.
if this board can't make delegation, one of the, who's gonna be there, make the delegation. And I'm not sure if the upcoming one, are those windows closed?
Getting close.
They're closed. Sorry.
Closed on.
The delegations have closed.
So the delegations have closed, so we have time till next, like 6 months from
January.
the January meeting, so we have time. So I think, first off, then, we should be sending a letter from this board to our First Nations, asking their advice on this matter, on whether they have a channel or what. So I think we'll keep our blinders on just the one of the two right now and see what they suggest. And if it's not, if they don't have any suggestions, then our next move is to make delegation in January to try to figure this out.
Go ahead, Paul.
Or the other option is to go through our local MPP, like we had a delegation there 3 weeks ago. That could be an option as well. It's,
No, I'd go right to Solicitor General on this.
I mean, if we pass that window, who knows who's gonna be around the table in January,
Exactly.
right? So I would.
We're putting the ball down the road in effect.
Well, I have no problem talking with, or yourself too.
Well, I think we should put that in a motion,
Yeah.
that we request a meeting, maybe yourself, Mr. Chair, or maybe it's not a meeting, a request to meet with the Solicitor General and then.
Well, I think it would be under the advice of our member who he thinks we need to meet with. Like, is it?
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
We'll make, like, we have no problems with calling our member, our MVP of this area, and making a request on who he feels we should be meeting with and explain this to him, what's going on, what our thoughts are, and he'll decide who he should.
So we should put that on a motion.
Yeah.
So why don't we start there?
So are you getting enough information from what we're putting down? Oh, there she is back there.
Anybody else want to weigh in on that before Jay asks his question?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, if I could.
Yes,
Thank you. I like the idea that Member McQueen had about the AMO delegation, but the delegation window has closed. So why not take it up with AMO? I think this is going to be a bigger maybe issue than just Grey Bruce Owen Sound, or sorry, not Owen Sound, but just Grey Bruce. Like other municipalities or other boards within the province are going to be facing the same thing. So why don't we take the AMO route a little better and maybe just copy the motion, whatever, however we craft it, to AMO and have them sort of, maybe take it up.
Any thoughts on
It's
that?
more of a provincial issue than just, and I would take it up with Minister Rickford, not the Solicitor General, but that's me too.
Right, Paul.
I would suggest we could take both spheres, both avenues. But I think it would, I'm just not sure on the timeframe, Nicole, as how long that would take. But I'm not opposed to that. I think that's a good idea, because that's who our municipal representatives are, is through the body of AMO for sure.
Yeah.
So I would suggest that could be in two spheres. Because who knows, we may not, through our local MPP, get a delegation during, I think, they're in the House till probably the middle of June.
Well, let's come to a decision, or otherwise we're on it all day.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to say that I think this is one of these kind of issues where it's like throw an egg on the wall and see what sticks. There's no reason not to go everywhere that we think it might produce some results. The MPP, AMO, through the convention, through a letter, our association, let's circulate it, our feelings, make it our point known, and so that we're not restricting it. What reason is there that reaching out to the First Nations as well? All of these will hopefully result in some dialogue, some discussion that will bring a resolution. So that's, like, why limit it?
Okay, let's come to a conclusion here. Nicole, did you have anything else to add?
No, Mr. Chair, I was just gonna, if there is a motion on the floor, I'd just like to hear it first of all, and then I'll think about seconding it.
Okay.
But I think it was Member Kirkland's.
Well, let
motion.
Member Kirkland bring the motion or suggest the wording of the motion.
Well, and that's going to be the difficult part. Are we addressing specific ministries, band offices, or do we leave the letter in a general form that we can send it to 4 or 5 different agencies? So if we decide that, let's decide who are we sending the letter, because I usually like my letter to be addressed to the specific, because like if we're sending a letter to First Nations, I would like the heading to be to First Nations. If we're sending a letter to Minister of Indigenous Affairs or our MPP, just to, how do we?
Carol,
Have
you
any
want to weigh in?
suggestions on that?
Through you, Chair, if I were in First Nations shoes.
Yeah.
I would feel I was blindsided if I wasn't made aware or asked about this first.
Good point.
And so I think that's the first.
Good point. Why don't we start there?
So keep it simple. Let's start with First Nations.
I agree with Carol on that.
Girls.
Carly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for you. If I could recommend, it sounds like we may want to have that conversation with our First Nations representatives in advance. And then I think what might be advisable to do, given some of the wording and the desire that the board has expressed to be sensitive about the issue, I think it might be advantageous for following that conversation and that feedback for staff to craft something
Good
for
point.
the board to review in advance of it being
Yep.
published.
Yep, that's a good point. Paul?
Well, why don't we do a letter to the First Nations today and then leave that for the June meeting?
Yeah, it should be put
For
over to
their
the next meeting.
response.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, somebody want to word the letter?
Aye.
Go ahead, Carly.
Through you, Mr. Chair. For the purposes of today, I think it may be advantageous as well to defer consideration of report OPP 2026-09. So I would recommend a motion to defer reading that consideration of report OPP 2026-09 be deferred, and that the board chair be directed to consult our First Nations representatives, and that staff be directed to draft a letter of appeal for review of funding for the board's consideration.
Now, Nicole, are you happy with that?
Yep, I am, thank you.
Okay. Everybody support that?
I'll make the motion.
Make the motion. Do we have a seconder? We do, member
I'll
Kirkland.
second.
Oh, we've got member Markham, we're putting her on the record.
We scheduled it somewhere.
Thank you, Nicole. Okay, in favor? Opposed, if any? Not a hand went up?
I think this is the right path.
That's the right path. Thank you, Nicole, and thank you, Carol.
This isn't an urgent matter that can't.
No, let's
We're
do
just
the
not
right
letting
thing.
it go,
It's-
that's all.
That's right, because let's do the right thing. Okay. So we'll start with the letter, and this is coming from whom? Harley? It's from me.
Yeah. You'll have a chance to review it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Then we can get comments from her if we want to.
I think
That fine?
also
Okay, we'll do that.
you'll have a conversation with her,
Okay,
and I,
where were we? I think we're on 7. We're still at it. Somebody want to remind me? I think we finished with the discussion. Pardon me?
We're not.
Number 8.
We're done.
We're done.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, consent agenda. Thank you, Paul. This is a yes, no. The suggestion is that the Grey Bruce OPP Detachment Board adopt the consent agenda for information as circulated. Now, it was less which items?
Through you, Chair Solers, if anyone wishes to pull an item, it would be less that. If the consent agenda wants to be adopted as is, then you may do so.
Okay. Is everybody happy with the consent agenda as is? That the consent agenda be received for information as circulated? Is there a mover? Seconder? Okay, mover is Member McQueen, seconder Member Wood. In favor? Opposed, if any? None. Carried. Okay, we're moving on to 8.1. We take that, Nora? Sorry? Did I miss something? No? This is with respect to correspondence.
We've dealt
I'm
with,
sorry.
Through you, Chair Solers, yeah, you have dealt with the consent agenda, so the next item would be 9.
Okay, we go straight on to 9. Now, this is recommendation is that the board endorse the 2026 action plan focuses outlined in this report for the 2026 Detachment Commander Performance Review Cycle. Is there a mover and a seconder? Mover is Carl, thank you very much, Member Ellis, and the seconder, Member Kirkland. I'm going to defer to the detachment commander. Board administrator can also speak if necessary, if she wishes. Go ahead. Anything to say?
good morning.
Questions?
I don't see eyes roll.
No, I roll. So we went through the detachment action plan for 2026 to 2029. And as a group, we highlighted the 4 priorities.
Yeah,
5
4.
priorities, sorry, there was 5.
Yeah, we went up to 5.
Yeah. So there was a number of priorities in that action plan, and so we took 1 from each and 2 from a couple of the categories. That will be our focus for 2026.
And that's put in front of the board. Were you going to say something there? Sure.
I can, through you, Chair Solers, I can if you'd like. Basically, detachment commander, Marla Barber. Yeah, there were 5 priorities selected. It was the addendum that Carly sent out because it had happened after the publishing of the agenda. So those 5 priorities are in front of you, but just, I don't know if you want me to quickly review them, but it was crime reduction, increase proactive patrols by 10%. That was the recommendation. Roadway, under the roadway, waterway, and trail safety category, increase enforcement and visibility efforts targeting the big 4, which is speeding, seatbelts use, impaired driving, and distracted driving. And the goal was to increase charges year over year. The third was mental health and community well-being, and it was to strengthen responses to mental health and addiction-related calls through MCERT. And there was a recommendation there that the committee basically requested measurables in a number of categories, which are listed in the report. And number 4, recruitment and retention, focuses on local recruitment initiatives and retention efforts locally. And the 5th was Indigenous community engagement, and continued to support the 2 Indigenous communities in Grey Bruce through culturally informed training, dedicated resources, and trust building initiatives.
Okay, is there any further discussion?
I'll just
Go ahead, Carl.
make a comment, thank Commander Barfoot for, it's a new process for both the board and the commander, and we'll get better at it, and Commander will get used to that back and forth, taking those priorities, the broader priorities, and turning them into some focused deliverables on an annual basis. So hopefully it's a worthwhile exercise.
I think the exercise we went through as a committee, that was excellent, actually. Any further discussion at all? All in favor? Opposed, if any? None? Carried. Moving up to number 10. We're moving along here. No unfinished business. No consideration of motions where notice was previously given. We're up to number 12. Are there any notices of motion, discussions, or inquiries that have been provided to the board administration in advance of this meeting? No, I believe that's the one that I should be speaking to, pecuniary interest. Very minor point, and it has to be approved or not. I have two meetings that I'm going to. I am going to the Zone 5 meeting, which is in Clinton, which is on the direct path on the way to London for the OASPB, I can't say it any other way, conference, and our commander is also going. So for me, it's a direct path. Our hotels have been all provided for in London, but the meeting that I have in Clinton was left out in terms of a stay over. And it doesn't take me any extra mileage to go because I'm right on the same path all the way down. So I figured because of the distance, etc., I'm going to stay overnight. I called the B&B and in Seaforth, I think it was called, which is about 5 clicks from Clinton. And that would get me in. Why am I attending that meeting? It's in person. I didn't establish it to be in person. But they said our final meeting for the year, or whatever it was for Zone 5, is in person. At the direction of the board, I wrote a letter to them saying very politely, we are questioning, why are we here? I mean, it was asked in the last meeting, if you recall, both the vice chair and I, remember in November, went to one virtually. And then the second one I attended, if you remember, we scrambled to get a quorum. The question was asked, what came out of it? And in my view, nothing other than a cost. So there was 1 or 2 members said, well, I've been to a couple of these in the past, but why are we even going? So because I wrote the letter, they're saying I'm on the agenda. Hence, that's the background. So what I'm asking people to do is cover the hotel or the B&B cost. I'll bring my own ham sandwich or chicken sandwich, and there's no extra mileage. So do we need a motion on that, or? I'll turn my back and see who votes against me or doesn't.
Just for clarity on
Yes.
myself, when somebody usually declares a conflict of interest,
Yes.
there's no discussion between the person that has the conflict and the board. So I just want to make sure you're protected on a conflict of interest. That the staff should have been bringing a kind of a report forward on what the conflict should be, and you should not, well, I shouldn't say conflict.
No, that's fine.
If you're the one claiming and you want to be in the discussion, that's up to you, but.
I did, that was my choice.
Okay, because I don't want, you're not going to get in trouble for this motel room, I'm just.
No, she offered, and I said, no, you know what, I'm gonna give the facts. Go ahead, Paul.
And I would say from point of clarity, I don't think you have a conflict because you're representing us
No,
as a board chair.
That's right.
And you're just clarifying, to try to, put two together. So I feel there's no conflict. I think you're just seeking clarity on.
I'm just covering myself on this one altogether. I'm not gonna spend
Clarity
it.
on expenses, and I think there's nothing wrong with that.
I'd rather handle it that way.
Yeah.
Than on.
Yeah, I mean, we are doing the best we can by not attending these meetings and doing them virtually wherever possible, so that there's no extra mileage, et cetera. Jody, did you want to throw something in on that?
Oh, just to Through you, Chair Solar, to your previous point, if you need a motion, you can do a motion if you'd like, or just unanimous consent would be fine. And just to clarify, yeah, we did have a previous motion from last meeting to approve your hotel stay on June 9th, to bridge the Zone 5 meeting with the West Region Conference. And this one would just be on June 8th prior, so that you're down there fresh for,
So
for
there
the.
does not
for the-
have to be a motion, is what you're saying?
If you have unanimous consent, that's accepted as well.
See, there would be an issue if you're attending your son's wedding at the same night and you're and we're paying for your accommodations. So
I have to pay for any more weddings. I can ask Commander Barfoot to show up with her pistol. Mind you, I will tell you one thing, I had the privilege of marrying my daughter. Now, I don't mean it as a ruin in that sense.
I was gonna say, hopefully there wasn't another hand there.
I mean, the pronounced,
ceremony you had.
well, there's a story which I'll tell you off the record after that, so because we're on YouTube, but that's besides the point.
So for clarity, do you need a motion to support the correspondence or through you to the staff? Do we need anything or it just, I don't see it.
No, we're all okay with that. Okay, thanks for clarifying that, Jay, that's fine.
So just on that, just for clarification on myself, on 12, notice of motion. If we have a notice of motion that the board feels they want to deal with today, we usually have a 2/3 show of hands to deal with it. Like if it's of importance or something that we feel needs to be done. Are we allowed to do that under the procedures and the bylaws that we have under notice of
And that
motion?
would be a direct motion.
Yeah.
And that's a question I think our administrator can.
Yes. You understand my question? I just want to make sure that there is a process that we can, there might be something that is of importance to the board that we need to deal with under a notice of motion or a direct motion.
Okay, so we're okay. The only thing I will tell you is there's no tariff on the hotel.
Because you're crossing into another county?
Hey, I got a visa, green card on that one. Okay, so we can move on? Yeah? Yes, Carmen?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just want to confirm that, yes, there is a process for notices of motion. And yes, there is a notice requirement. And typically it does require a 2/3 vote to address a matter at the same meeting. For absolute clarity, this matter should have been dealt with at the beginning of the meeting and added to the agenda under new business, given the time sensitivity, because the board will not meet again in advance of your attendance, or it could have been dealt with retroactively. For just absolute clarity, I wanted to respond to Member Kirkland's inquiry.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
You're good. Okay, let's move it along. Bylaws, none. Well, here's a question with respect to closed session. Jody, did you want to address this?
Through you, Chair Solar.
You don't mind?
Absolutely. The closed session item 14.1 no longer needs to be addressed if the board's all right with that, because at the subcommittee meeting on the 22nd, when we went into closed session, the detachment commander performance feedback report was not actually filled in. So we have nothing to report. All the action plan items were done in open session, so we've already addressed them. We weren't sure because it was a new process. It was our first time going through that portion. If we would need to discuss something in closed, so it did go on the agenda. However, there is nothing to discuss on that item as nothing was completed. However, there are some previous meeting minutes from closed sessions that need to be adopted. Hopefully you've read them, and if there's discussion on those items, we will need to go into closed to discuss if there's any administrative amendments or any points you want to discuss on the minutes, we will need to go into closed. However, if you're prepared to accept the minutes without discussion, we can do so in open session.
Then that is just
To
what the
your
question is, are we
discretion.
prepared to accept the minutes? A lot of heads nodding yes. Well, then the heads are nodding yes, we are by the looks of it. So we don't have to go into closed. Carly?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, there's no need for us to go into closed. However, we do need a resolution to adopt the
Go ahead.
closed meeting minutes.
Okay, do you want to read the resolution?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it would just be that the closed minutes contained herein be adopted.
Do I have a mover? Member Reading, seconder, member in favor? Opposed, if any? None opposed, carried. Okay,
It's 10:04.
well,
We haven't adjourned yet.
Yeah.
we haven't adjourned yet. Do you want to take a break right now? Let's take a break right now. How's that?
A motion to adjourn if there's no other.
Yeah, there's no other-
Okay, well, let's keep going. We're almost there. We're almost there. The food's still sitting there. It's not going to be there for long, I'll tell you.
Motion to adjourn to our next call of our meeting, which is June 23rd.
Okay, we're up to adjournment. And I recommend that the meeting be adjourned at 10:05. In favor? Any discussion? Or is it, let's start, is there a mover? Okay, Vice Chair moves it, seconder member McQueen. No discussion, by the sounds of it, that member Wood who wants to eat. In favor? Opposed, if any? None.
I'm gonna be proud, eh?
Hey,